Okay, for this assignment, I was tasked with taking 8 movies, and finding all of the people involved with it, including the director, the writer, the producer, and 3 actors, and take that information and create a database in MySQL and MySQL Workbench to store that information and associate it properly. Um, I did expand the assignment a bit because of the 8 movies, there were often multiple producers, multiple writers, and there was even screenplays which differ slightly from writers. So in approaching this assignment, I decided to make it as open and wide as possible, and to include as much information in my database as I could, or at least give the option to have that information available. Um, Here we have my EER diagram for my database. I started out creating my people category, and if we look at this, you can see that my people table includes an ID number, which is a general ID number, first and a last name, and then I included director ID, writer ID, producer ID, basically the IDs that were the keys for my um, other tables that split these individuals out into their specific roles. One of the benefits of doing this is specifically, we were doing the Lord of the Rings series, is 3 of the movies we had to do. Is Peter Jackson, who's the director, was also a producer and worked on the screenplay. And having the option to, setting it up this way seemed to be the easiest way to allow Peter Jackson to be credited for all of those things individually. Um, and then I have a nice reference table here, so if you want to see who's a producer, who's an actor, and their IDs as a search tool, it's available in that table. So effectively you have your people table, and then we have our individual tables for their different roles with the movie. We're just going to look at one of them, which would be our director table. Within the director table, there's a one-to-one relation with the people table. So it associates the ID, the director ID, with that person. Um, And the same holds true for the writers, the screenplay, the producer, and the actors. One of the benefits of splitting this off like this is in our people table, we can include information like the person's name, we can include their birth date, general information that would be really easily, that would be just about the person intrinsically. Whereas when we go into the director's table, we can see information about that person directing and what his influences were. Um, but this also separates that person's directing career from his writing career and his screenplay career if perhaps he was directed one movie but was a screenplay for the other. And you can get information about those different roles that he played separately, kind of divvied out instead of having it all in one giant table. But anyways, from the director table, we move on to the movie has director table. This actually is just a connection between our movies table and our director table. And in this, essentially, it associates the movie ID with the director ID so that we can see which directors directed what movies. And then our last step of the table would be our movies table, which just has our general information about the movies. We'd include release dates and budget information, that sort of thing. The other thing about this movie has director table is we could go in, I did not add this in this instance, but we could go in and allow fields for commentary troll, maybe have an awards column to allow us to kind of expand on how that director did on each individual movie, allowing even more information to be put into the database. Um, so that's the basic structure of my database. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the database. I'm going to go ahead and connect to the server, to the instance. So here we have our tables. I'm going to go ahead and open up the people's table, take a look at that. If you notice, within the 8 movies, there were a total of 32 different people. And we'll just follow Peter Jackson throughout his play, because he did play a major role in all 3 of the Lord of the Rings movies. He has the people ID of 1. He's a director, producer, and screenplay writer. So we're going to go ahead and follow him a little bit. From the people table, we'll go over to the director table to see his director ID and what's listed here. I have the Peter Jackson's person ID and his director ID and his people ID Here, as well as just the director name as an easy reference source. Like I said, again, you could add additional columns here to include things about Peter Jackson's directing career. And then if we look at the Movie Has Director tab, we can then see that movies 1, 2, and 3 were all directed by the director ID 1, which would be Peter Jackson. And if we take a look at our movies, movies 1, 2, and 3 are the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So within my database, it's set into that. My only concern about this, and the thing that got a little confusing, was the association, the end-to-end tables within this database got a little confusing because, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of information to the right. Um, Frankly, that's because it would have taken quite a lot of time to write little bios or descriptions for each of the movies and each of the roles, especially when we start looking at some of the other options here. So if we go back to our people, this is just a list of all of our individuals, and we can just kind of scroll through this a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actors and actresses. One of the disappointing situations with the 8 movies that we had selected was that all of the actors were only actors. They did not have any writing careers, at least within the 8 movie set that we had, so they were pretty much very straightforward. And go ahead and take a look at the Movie Has Actors information. Once again, we just have the basic movie ID associated with the actor. For instance, actor ID 1 is Johnny Depp, and you can see, or not Johnny Depp, Elijah Wood, and he is associated with movies 1, 2, and 3, were once again the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I believe actor ID 4 is Johnny Depp, and he is associated with movie IDs 4, 5, and 6, which, if we go and check, is the Pirates of the Caribbean setup. One interesting thing here is my Pirates movies. I only set my variable length to 45, and writing out Pirates of the Caribbean plus the name of the movie at the end got too long, so watch out for that. Then we can go take a look at our producers. We've got a total of 9 producers across 8 movies. Some of the movies only had 1, some of the movies had 3. I remember specifically, for instance, Tim Sanders, he only produced 1 of the Lord of the Rings trilogies, whereas Peter Jackson, Barry Osborne, and Fran Walsh were all listed as producers for each of them. We can go and take a look at our movie as producers page, and we'll see that reflected. Movies 1, 2, and 3 were our Lord of the Rings trilogies. So we have Peter Jackson, Barry Osborne, and Fran Walsh. But then notice we also have Tim Sanders as a producer for the first movie. And then we have our screenplay. Just another rather short list of individuals. Some of the movies had multiple, some of them didn't. But if we follow, see William Goldman, which I believe was Princess Bride, we can take a look at our movies tab. He's screenplay ID 7. Take a look at our movies tab. That's 7. So if I go into screenplay movies, should have movie 7, screenplay ID 7. So that's basically sums up this assignment. Thank you for watching.